The following is a Samsung production.
Well, welcome everyone to Law Talk. The main person here, as you know, is attorney Conrad Falvello. I'm Sam Lesante, your host. I'm the facilitator here, folks. A lot of interesting things we're going to be talking about today. In fact, one major thing we'll be talking about today is malpractice insurance, medical malpractice insurance. Okay, big controversy over the years about this, doctors versus lawyers, and then of course you, the consumer, where do you fit in here? What is happening? And so today we're going to talk about medical malpractice insurance and your claims. You know, when do you make a claim, when you don't make a claim. But if you have any questions, folks, you know the number, Connie's number is 788-4191, 788-4191, or go to favellolaw.com. And he'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have. How are you, Mr. Falvello?
Good, Sam. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Family okay?
Family's doing real well.
Got to tell you,
we're taping a day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So everybody's here. It'll be a good weekend.
I got to tell you, I had a very interesting guest on my show a couple weeks ago.
So I hear.
Your daughter, Alexis, who was the assistant DA, as
yes.
you heard. Yeah. And I told her, well, now that I had her on the show, we could replace you. She'd be able to do this.
She would do an outstanding job. She's definitely better looking.
Yeah, better looking than you. Very smart, very intelligent.
Yes.
Okay, and I figured, what the heck, you know, so
she's
long.
Tough, man. She's tough.
She enjoys it down there. She really
loves the DA's office. It's the experience that she's getting is second to none. I mean, being in the courtroom on your feet all the time, and just to be thinking like a lawyer every day, as I call it, and it's great experience, terrific. And she likes working with Jackie and Jeff Tokash and Dave Pedri and the other team that they have up there. It's a tough job. It's a tough job, but they have very good young people.
You know, it's interesting because we did a half-hour show, and we had Danny Zola on, we had Pedri on, we had Jeffrey on, your daughter on, Jackie, of course, and I'm missing, who am I missing? Somebody. Oh, I hope no one missing.
Probably Frank Barletta.
That's right, Frank Barletta.
Frank Kendall's the appellate side of that.
First of all, you're absolutely right. When you talk about lawyers, young lawyers who are on the ball, believe me, it was great, and I can see why Jackie's so thrilled with it. But you know, it was interesting, Connie. I know it's nothing to malpractice, but it was interesting. Each individual, what they cover in the DA's office. I could have done a 3-hour show. I mean, just what your daughter does alone with the restitutions and working with people who have abused children and
abuse and the sex crimes.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's unfortunately more out there than they can handle, but as I say, they have young legs, and they have a passion for what they're doing, which is two very, very important things in that arena.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I found it very interesting, and I was very impressed with the attorneys that were here. I mean, of course, Jackie is a doll.
She's terrific.
She's doing a great job down there. Connie, malpractice insurance. You guys have been, on the battling front here for many years. With the doctors with their malpractice insurances, and then of course the lawyers. There's always these two sides, and then how do we resolve this? Let's go back a while and bring us back, to where we were and what happened with malpractice insurance and the claims. Just give us
Sam. The issue really got hot, I would say, about 8 years ago in 2000, when there was a clamor for tort reform. And it became actually a big issue in the 2000 presidential campaign and again in the 2004 presidential campaign. However, by 2004, here in Pennsylvania at least, both the legislature and the Supreme Court had taken some, I think, very positive steps to try to correct some of the problems that were in the system. And one of those problems, if you want to call it that, was that there were frivolous suits out there. There were lawyers and clients who would file suit when they didn't even know they had a suit. And Sam, I know we talked about this before. Medical malpractice claim is a different animal. It's not like a car case. You need to do a very thorough medical legal investigation before you even think about filing a lawsuit. it's just that important to do that because of the nature of the claim. But there were a lot out there that didn't do that, filed claims anyway, and it put tremendous pressure on the malpractice insurance system because it just added a lot of cost and in many cases a lot of unnecessary costs. So in fact what happened was the legal community and the legislature and to another extent the Supreme Court got together and they said, well, you know, what can we do to fix this? The doctors, President Bush, a lot of the business community wanted to limit the rights of the people that were hurt, limit the rights of the victims and say, listen, we don't care how much you're hurt or how badly you're hurt or how devastating it has been to you. We want to change the law so that in this particular circumstance, you can only recover a certain amount of money because we're paying too much for insurance. And the legislature decided against that, and I think wisely so, and the Supreme Court decided against that as well. But what they did was the legislature restructured the malpractice insurance system, and the Supreme Court made it tougher to promulgate or prosecute a medical malpractice claim. And what we have here today, I know we'll put them up sometime, but we have some historical data from 2000 through the end of 2007, at least that's what available to us, that we can show and demonstrate to the people how that has changed not only the payouts, but the number of cases that have been filed.
Before we put the chart off, we'll do that after we come back from the break, but the question always is that, you know, these frivolous lawsuits, okay, which we hear, and I guess the concern was, and we had a number of doctors on this show, as well as some attorneys, they're saying that, you know, the malpractice insurance was going to the roof, that we were losing a lot of great doctors in the state of Pennsylvania. They just don't want to come here in Pennsylvania, and this has been a problem. Now, is this problem still exist in the state of Pennsylvania?
Not to the degree that it did 4, 5, or 6, or 8 years ago. However, Sam, what hasn't happened since these changes in 2002 is a corresponding reduction in what the doctors and the hospitals have to pay for premiums. In addition to that, we have a two-tiered system. There's the private insurance, and on top of that, what we call MCare, which is the state-funded insurance. MCare finished 2007 with $500 million, $500 million that they weren't using for claims, they weren't using for administration, and that, Sam, is all doctor and hospital money, all of it, okay? And as you'll see—
Does it go back to them?
No.
It just stays
MCare hung on to it.
Yeah.
And this is where I disagree. I think Governor Rendell has done a tremendous job, but he wants to use that money to fund health insurance. And I think that's still in debate. It's been in debate for the entire year of 2008.
Now, that money is for if there's any lawsuits, okay, and settlements, and is this
Correct.
where, okay.
It's
So if the doctor doesn't have X amount of dollars for insurance, that it comes from that fund? If
not
they
that the doctor doesn't have it. That
they're
fund
insured.
is there to protect doctors and hospitals.
Okay.
To be used if there is a payout on a claim.
Uh-huh.
But what has happened is MCare and the other insurers are collecting all this money as premium from doctors and hospitals. They're accumulating it as a reserve fund for the payout of claims, but over the last 6 years, the claims have gone down significantly,
Yes, and we'll
so
see
they've been
that.
able to accumulate that much money.
Okay, but some doctors have said that, and the argument is that these claims have decreased significantly.
Right.
But however, their insurances haven't decreased significantly.
That's my point exactly, Sam.
Yeah.
The
So
MCare,
yeah.
the MCare is paid as an assessment or an insurance premium by doctors and hospitals. And my argument is, if you have $500 million, why not A, reduce the premiums that they have to pay, and or B, rebate some of that money to the doctors and hospitals, particularly doctors and hospitals that have good records.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, I'm hoping Governor Rundell and legislation does that, because here I think the insurance companies are now taking advantage of these doctors.
Yeah.
They put the lawyers in a situation. Now, legislation has done their job. You guys have done your job. Now the insurance companies are not doing their job. Folks, I'm talking to Attorney Conrad Falvello, and we're talking about medical malpractice insurance. Another question I like to ask you, when do you file a medical claim? Some of you, doctor does something or hospital, and the first thing you was, let's sue them, okay? Well, how does that process work? But when we put this chart up, you're going to be surprised what's going on. And also, again, the question is, I've said this 1,000 times. We have probably the greatest doctors in our area that you can find, and we like to track good doctors. But unfortunately, sometimes the medical insurances are too high, and we're not being able to get some of them. It shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be at this particular point in time. We'll be back right after this.
If you've ever had an insurance claim, you know how frustrating it can be to get satisfaction from your own insurance company. Many times they'll delay, or they'll refer you here and refer you there. Nobody seems to have authority. And sometimes people just give up. The law in Pennsylvania recognizes that if you're mistreated by your insurance company, they should pay not only your claim, but they should pay your costs. If that happens, you need help, you need representation, and you need an attorney who can make that insurance company pay your claim. You shouldn't have to hire an attorney to get the money on an insurance claim for premiums that you've paid for coverage. More and more, that seems to be happening. If you're a victim of your own insurance company, you need recourse. And the only way you're going to get it is by proper, experienced representation. We've been handling auto accident cases since 1974. When someone's hurt in an auto accident, there are more considerations than meet the eye. One of the most traumatic things about an auto accident is you can have a person who is healthy and driving their car, or a passenger in a car one moment, and the next moment they're seriously hurt. It's traumatic because it's unanticipated and it happens so quickly. And not only are the people dealing with their injuries, they have to deal with the changes that are thrust upon them by someone else's neglect. What we do is we help them through that initial phase of trying to get things set up that they need, working the claim, and ultimately preparing an evaluation or preparing it for trial. Our job is to help them through that.
Welcome back to Law Talk, folks. Main man is Attorney Conrad Falvello, falvellolaw.com, falvellolaw.com, or 788-4191. Now, folks, if you'd like to see any of these shows that we do, Law Talk, you can go to our website. Our website is ssptv.com, ssptv.com, and click on our shows, hit Law Talk, and you can see some of the shows that we've done. But, of course, if you need to talk to Connie or any of his staff, feel free to call 788-4191. Connie, I'd like to ask some questions about malpractice. When a person is considering to file a claim or to sue a doctor or a hospital or medical facility. But I'd like to put this chart on the case filings and MCare payouts. Versus medical error reports. So, Sammy, why don't you put this chart on the screen?
Okay, we got it up there now?
And this way, let's show the people what they're looking at right now.
Sure. Sam, if we look at the chart, working from the left side to the right, we have the year and then the number of cases filed statewide. The MCare fund payouts, now keep in mind MCare came into being in 2002, so the data on the MCare payouts would run from 2003. And in conjunction with MCare, the legislature mandated that there be what they call a patient safety authority. And as part of that, hospitals and nursing homes were obligated to report what they call incidents and also serious incidents. And I'll explain that in a minute. But if you look at, for example, the number of claims that were filed, the number of malpractice cases against doctors and hospitals in 2000 and look at the numbers filed in 2007, they are down significantly, about 40%. And most of that reduction, Sam, came since the inception of the MCARE Act and the procedural changes made by the Supreme Court. Just to give you the exact numbers, in 2002, before all of this actually came into being in a practical sense after the law changed, 2002 there were 2,900 claims filed statewide. In 2007 there were 1,600 or thereabouts. Again, down significantly. The MCARE payouts, what that means, Sam, is the amount of money paid statewide by the MCARE level of insurance. And MCARE level of insurance is a second tier. It is excess insurance over private insurance bought by the doctors. So this would indicate payouts on the more serious claims. And in 2003, those were just shy of $380 million. 2007, $191 million. Again, down significantly over that 5-year period. However, since the inception of the mandated reporting of incidents, and what that means is this. An incident is an event that occurs where there, if you will, is a mistake, but it doesn't translate to a mistake that harms a patient or requires additional treatment for that patient. A serious incident is a mistake that would cause additional treatment to the patient, harm the patient, or even kill the patient. And this data was considered important when they changed the law, not so much from the insurance standpoint, but from the patient care standpoint. And that was one of the things that both the legislature and the legal community advocated very, very strongly, because prior to that time, there was no official reporting data on incidents or serious incidents. And as you can see, since they've been recording that data, the number of incidents has risen dramatically from 70,000 to about 211,000. And the number of serious incidents that were reported has also risen. So what we have here since the change in the law is a substantial decrease in the number of malpractice filings, a substantial decrease in the payouts by the MCARE, the state mandated fund of insurance, but significant increases over that same time span of the reports of incidents or mistakes and the reports of serious incidents. Not to be taken one way or another, it doesn't mean that there's more errors than there were before. These are just reported now. And the good part about this is that if it's reported, there will be action by a hospital, by a nursing home, by another healthcare facility to that incident, and they can look internally and see what they have to do to improve the patient care. And the goal there is, once you improve patient care, then you are lessening the likelihood of a malpractice claim.
Now, to me, what does serious mean? Give me a serious incident.
Well, serious, I'll define it exactly as the law defines it, and that says this. It is an event or an occurrence or situation involving the clinical care of a patient in a medical facility that results in death or compromises patient safety and results in an unanticipated injury requiring the delivery of additional health care services to the patient. Okay? And what that means is if there was something that caused the patient to get worse or die, or that has caused the patient to receive additional unanticipated medical treatment because of an action or an inaction on the part of a healthcare provider, then they must report it.
Now, something doesn't seem right here. If this, well, you just serious, that's pretty serious.
It is serious,
Death.
sure.
Okay. Now, if the serious incidents have increased, I would think that there would be more malpractice lawsuits happening. I mean, because...
Well, they may, but, the patient may not necessarily know about this. This is something that's reported to the Patient Safety Authority, which is a state board,
Yeah.
And internally to the hospital or the nursing home or the other facility. So, even though a serious incident may occur, it doesn't mean it translates into a malpractice claim. There's much more to the meat, if you will, of a malpractice claim than just the occurrence of an incident.
Okay, folks, what leads me to the point is, when do we make a malpractice claim? When does a person, decide that they should go to Connie Falvello and say, look, I think I have a case here on malpractice? Right. We come back to this break, folks. Important question, interesting, isn't it? Serious medical errors gone up to 7,277 in the year 2007. The filings from malpractice have decreased to 1,600. Okay, and the claims payouts have started from 2003 close to 400 million down to less than 200 million. Something's not right here, folks. Stay with us.
Part of our responsibility as a law firm in this community is to give back in ways other than just representing our clients. We're very proud that we have endowed 2 scholarships at the Penn State Dickinson School of Law. Those scholarships are set up to help students there who need financial help. Some years ago, we represented a gentleman who happens to be a good friend of mine. He and his wife lost one of their sons to a drunk driver. We took part of our fee and established a scholarship in the memory of that young man that was killed. Since that time, we donate a portion of our fee to the local chapter of Mothers Against Drunk Driving for any victim that we represent who's been injured or hurt seriously by a drunk driver. We've made a conscious choice to give more than lip service back to the community. By giving money, that's the best resource that we can provide to charitable organizations.
Welcome back to this Law Talk, folks. I'm here with Connie Falvello. Nobody said the Sam Lesante Show. Falvello Law Firm, FalvelloLaw.com, 788-4191, folks. Malpractice insurance and medical malpractice claims. If you just tuned in, folks, it's interesting because the case filings here and the MCare payouts versus medical error reports show a significant drop in the malpractice case filings from 2002 when they started reporting it back to 2007, but yet the serious medical errors from 2004 up into 2007 have substantially increased. Now, Connie, when do you really consider going, to making a medical malpractice claim? When do I come to you?
What we see, Sam, is this. If something unanticipated happens to a patient, something that is, in terms of anticipation, out of the ordinary, not that you don't get better, but something devastating can occur. And you may not know why, or maybe not get an adequate explanation of what happened from the doctor or from the hospital. And this situation, this medical condition, whatever it is, either is untreatable and permanent, it can have an effect on the future of that individual, and they begin to question whether the treatment rendered was good treatment, or what we call standard of care treatment. And they'll make an inquiry, and they'll come to talk to us. And of course, when somebody comes to us with a possible malpractice claim, we spend a lot of time with them. We question them in as much detail as we can about what the pre-existing condition was that brought them to the doctor in the first place. We ask them as much as they can remember about the actual treatment itself, and of course, what has happened to them since. And then we begin a very thorough record investigation of all that they've described to us. And we don't make a decision as to whether or not there is a claim until we've done all of that. And that process can take 2, 3, sometimes even 6 months, depending on the complexity of the situation. And the reason that we do that is, like myself and other experienced malpractice attorneys, before 2002, we did that then and we do it now. In 2002, the Supreme Court required that every time you file a malpractice claim, you have to file with the court what they call a certificate of merit. That means that you've done your investigation and you've had the matter reviewed by a doctor in the same field or hospital expert in the same field as the hospital in question, whether it's a specialty hospital or geriatric hospital or so forth. And based on that detailed review, they've made a preliminary determination that there was a breach in the standard of care and that there was a harm to the patient that would not have otherwise occurred. A harm to the patient that occurred as a result of the substandard care. And if you don't file that certificate of merit when you file your lawsuit, it gets thrown out. To contrast, what was happening before was someone would come into a lawyer, the lawyer would assume that simply because something awful happened to the patient, they had a claim, and that's not the case. It's not the case. You have to establish those two things, that there was substandard care and that it caused harm. And so you're getting a lot of cases in the system prior to 2002 where maybe something awful happened, but there was no merit to the case from a medical standpoint. Now you have to file it. So that's why we do that thorough investigation. As I said, we did that before 2002. We do it after 2002, but that's the reason.
So, I mean, right now, before you take a case on, any respected lawyer who's worth their weight in gold here, they should properly make sure that they have done the research
Correct.
for the particular before anyone just goes and and that's where they were talking about frivolous lawsuits.
Yes, and if we have 10 people come to us inquiring about a malpractice claim, if we take one out of those 10 or even less, that's about the norm, because many times, Sam, there may be a mistake, but fortunately for the patient, they recover well and they can get on with their lives, and it's really not a claim. Or, as I said before, maybe something, a horrible complication occurred, but a complication that is not the responsibility or the fault of the doctor or the hospital. You have to make sure of those two things. On the other hand, because it takes so much time to investigate these things, we always tell our clients, it's a good thing you came to us early. Whether you get a yes or a no on the claim, at least you know, and it sure is much better than coming to us. There's a 2-year statute, so if you came to us after a year and a half, it makes it very difficult to make that important decision before the 2-year statute expires.
You always have that fine line. Should I go? Should I not go? Yeah. And then after a while, if it's a problem that should have been, that was wrong, but even if you're thinking about it, I guess you should check it right off front.
It doesn't hurt, and in my case, there's, even if we don't take the case, there's no fees and no costs. So it can't hurt to inquire and make that inquiry.
Okay, well, Connie, it's always a pleasure. I always learn a lot. Folks, it's called Law Talk, FalvelloLaw.com, 788-4191. And, folks, there are tremendous, great lawyers we have here, and yet there are some that are not the best. Just like there are great doctors we have, and there's a few of them that I wish would leave, but they're still hanging around, that make all the other great doctors look pretty good. There are only a few of them, folks. We're very blessed to have great attorneys and great doctors in our area. So support our local people. Connie, once again, it's always nice seeing you.
Thanks, Sam.
And you may as well enjoy your last days as Law Talk. Alexis will be coming on and taking over, okay? I'm Sam Lesante, folks. Remember, ssptv.com. You can watch any Law Talk show. All you need to do is click it on. We archive the shows. We'll see you next time.
This has been a Samson production.